Okay, guys. Well, tonight the training is going to be brief. We're gonna, as I said, we're going to do some nuts and bolts. In 2 weeks, we're going to begin the practicum component of this project, the deployment phase. I'm excited about that part. I've got mixed feelings because I'm kind of sad that this part is coming to a close because I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed just being with you guys on Sunday nights. I've enjoyed it, and I also know that with this part winding down means I've got to start writing again, and I'm not really excited about that. But I'm really excited about the practicum component. When I studied some similar doctoral projects that involve training for leadership or teaching or preaching or evangelism, different things, I came across some similar projects, but none that I came across had an application component where we actually put those things into practice. It was all kind of training, and then how did the training go, kind of responses. And I wanted a way to actually put this into practice such that we could measure the effectiveness of the training. That's going to be part of it. So the test that you took at the very beginning of the training, you'll take that after the practicum again, an identical one. And I'll get some evaluations from some of those that are in your Sunday school groups as well. That will hopefully help you, encourage you as well, your growth and what you need to continue working on. But more than that, more than measuring the effectiveness of this training, I'm excited about it because I really believe, I know a lot of prayer, a lot of preparation is going into it. I really believe this is going to have a long-term positive effects for our Sunday school, for our church, for us as a disciple-making church. I just really believe we're going to see some spiritual fruit from the next few weeks. I think people are. I'm grateful for our Sunday school right now, and like I am our Wednesday night Bible studies and things like that. But I just think putting extra effort in what we're doing, developing these skills, and reaching out to others. So what you're going to be entrusted to do, you're going to be leading. As a lead team, you'll be leading a Sunday school group, teaching the Bible without use of a curriculum for a few weeks. Making outreach contacts, an intentional effort to make outreach contacts, ministering to members, and identifying potential new leaders. So that's one of the things that I want you to do. I want you to begin identifying as you get people involved. As we talked about last week in last week's session, getting people involved, or was that the week? I forget anyway. In the discussion, in the ebb and flow of the lesson. I hope you'll be identifying some people that you say, hey, that they might be one that could go through a training like this and be ready to lead a Sunday school group or help lead a Sunday school group. So you're going to be given an opportunity to apply your either new skills or enhanced skills for making disciples. So I want to walk through the practicum plan and address any questions you may have, and then we'll talk about getting our groups together in just a moment. So if you want to flip to page 23 in the back, it's one of the appendices in the back of your notebook. It's a practicum outline there. I'm just going to read through this, walk through this. So it says at the top, as participants in this project, you will be given opportunity to apply your enhanced skills for disciple-making leadership in a practicum through the Sunday school ministry of Liberty Baptist Church. This practicum is a small group ministry and represents the second phase of the project. So Mark and I, and in fact Craig and I, we even discussed what's the best way to put this into practice. Should we use some sort of separate program on Sunday night? Should we put it in practice Wednesday night? I even thought, well, maybe we give y'all some teaching opportunities Sunday nights. But I felt like, not only did I want to have a way we could put these things into practice, but I wanted to be the best, make the best impact for our church in a practical way as well. So here's the schedule. I put some dates up there on the board just so you'll see them, be reminded. So pre-start week 1, that's this week, starting tomorrow morning or starting when you leave here. Pre-start week 1, just continue preparing your lessons and begin calling and inviting the people that are going to be on your contact list. We'll get to that in a few moments to join your class or group. Okay, so you'll leave here tonight with lists of names that you'll organize and say you'll need to say as a lead team who's going to call who or who's going to text or how you want to do it. I would encourage you to make some audible contact first, unless you think that's ineffective for the people that you're trying to contact. but make some direct contact with that person. I mean, cards are good, right? I like sending out cards. I try to model that, but I don't know if people got it or not, right? They'll have it, and so try to make some kind of direct contact with a phone call or text or email, some way you know you got a read reply or something like that. So that's what you do this next week. Pre-start week 2, pretty well the same thing. Continue preparing your lessons. I know you've been working on those already. And then send a follow-up text or email, or that's where you want to maybe do the indirect thing. So after you've made some sort of contact, I would encourage you, if you can, I know week gets busy, and Shane, you especially have a few things extra on your plate here in the next couple of weeks. And we all will, to a certain degree. And so as much as you are able to, you may identify some that you say, well, one call, one contact, you know they're in, right? But then you may have some that you may want to do a reminder. Particularly think about those that you know there's some in our church, they're already in Sunday school every week. Calling them just it shows them that you value their participation. You don't take it for granted that they're going to be there. But then there are some that you go, I don't really see them in Sunday school. They may just need another word of encouragement. Send them a text, hey, looking forward to seeing you. So that next week, the week leading up to the start, leading up to October 6th, identify something you do a follow-up text or email or card to, or maybe you just want to send a card out to everybody or email out, Facebook, invite, things like that. And then we'll start the trial program, week 1. And this will kind of walk through how I would recommend the flow of the time goes. I would encourage you as much as possible to do a hard start at 9:15. Okay. Now I know people don't show up till 9:20 or 9:30. That means you guys really need to be there by 9. Okay. You guys, and that requires you planning ahead. That requires Saturday planning. Okay. So to be there at 9, you got to plan. If you got kids at home and things like that, you got to have some advanced planning to gear up. You don't just at 8:45. I got to be there at 9, right? I mean, it takes a little advanced planning, but you really need to be there at 9. The lights are on. There's somebody there to meet, greet whoever's there. You're ready to go. You're not feeling rushed. If you're rushed in at 9:15, you're going to be, all your preparation is going to be rattled, okay? I would encourage you to get there at 9. If all 3 of you are there at 9 for your lead team, man, just that's a good time. Hey, before we get started, before anybody shows up, let's pray, okay? Get your minds and get your hearts right, okay? And then I would say, try to do a hard start at 9:50. Even if people slip in late, if they slip in at 9:20, 9:30, they may always slip in at 9:20, 9:30. But if those people that go, well, they don't really get started until 9:30 anyway. If they know you start at 9:15, there are some that are saying, well, I better be there at 9:15, okay? And so when I say hard start, I mean don't plunge into the lesson, but that may be where you do the icebreaker. So I kind of laid out there a recommended structure, icebreaker, the lesson and discussion, then take some time at the end, budget some time at the end for report of contacts made and that need to be made. So take time in your group saying, hey, here's some folks I'd like for us to contact that aren't there, okay? So, John Doe, you sent a message to inviting him to your group, but he's not there. And, maybe say somebody else, maybe somebody be willing to send a Facebook message to this person or a reminder or something like that too. Get others involved. You guys don't need to, you guys are the quarterbacks. You're getting the ball with the other players, okay? So get other people involved early on. So that's kind of the culture you're developing. But also take time after that first week. Hey, do you guys make any contacts? Anybody get to invite anybody? And encourage your class, hey, invite your friends, neighbors, and ask, did anybody have a chance to invite somebody this last week? They may be there, and that's where you say, hey, good to see you, Craig. Glad you could join us this Sunday. But if they're not there, or if there's somebody that somebody's praying to invite, take time to pray for that. Let's pray for that person to invite them. Spend time doing prayer time at the end. So again, you got to budget and plan these things. So if you have between 9:15 and 10:15, okay, now sometimes things run a little over, but don't let them run over because of poor planning, okay? Don't cut off the prayer in the middle of the prayer because it's 10:15. But if it goes 9:15, 10:15, think about how long does an icebreaker take?
30 minutes.
30 minutes is too long. You did a 30-minute icebreaker, you melted the ice and you flooded everybody with that ice. Yeah, so you know, what?
3 minutes?
Yeah, I'd say 5. I mean, by 9:20, you ought to be moving past that, okay? Now again, that first week may be a little, just like when we gathered in here, you know, I tried to make some adjustments. How long is your lesson going to be? How long are you going to plan?
Maybe 30 minutes, 35.
Okay, and you got discussions are going to come in. People's if you ask questions, whatever you plan, and you kind of learn. I know pretty much whatever I have a single space manuscript when I usually go into the pulpit. I know whatever length of page. I pretty well know what kind of time that's going to take. Okay, but a different element you guys have is participation. I don't have a whole lot. You know, I'm not getting a lot of, you know, discussion when I'm doing that in a sermon, right? But you're going to have some of that, and you're going to have to account for some of that. Okay, so think about that in your. If you plan for 40 minutes of content, that's going to probably go 55 minutes. Okay, at least with discussion. That's not going to give you much time. And then it's going to be 10:15, and you're going to. I don't have time for my last point, my conclusion, and we can't even pray yet. Okay, so think about that. You know, it's you cannot say everything about that passage that could possibly be said. Okay, and you want to get people involved. And again, look at your clock, and you go, man, we are having some really great discussion, and I haven't even got to my second point. Well, maybe you only get to your second point that day. Okay. And you tell them, hey, I got a lot more here. How about I'm going to shoot you my notes in an email if you have a chance to look over. Something like that, you know, or do a follow-up that week, Facebook post, if you do that. There are ways to follow up on that. You know, I mean, if you're like me where I'm preaching every week. If you have a Sunday school class and you're the only one teaching every week, man, that's great if your lesson, you only get halfway through it, because then you've already prepared for the next Sunday, right? But in this context, you don't want to bump in the next guys, okay? But challenge your group members to get involved in all those things. If you want somebody to pray, if you want somebody to read scripture, again, plan for that. Ask them ahead of time. Get them if you have scripture you want them to read. I would recommend whatever Bible you're going to be teaching out of, whatever version, give them a copy of that, whether it's printed out or whatever. That way, when they read the King James, you don't go, man, those aren't the words that I remember. What was the point I was going to make? Don't throw yourself off from that. But ask them in advance. Trial program week 2, and again, here's the lessons. It will start with Ephesians 4, 1-6, and then work our way through Ephesians through the 5th week. And then that 6th week, the lesson will be on Matthew 28, 16-20. Keep record of the contacts made. Okay, they're gonna be. We have attendance sheets. There will be special attendance sheets for this period that will help me in my record keeping. Make sure you might get somebody to do that. Okay, whether it's another person. You know, if you're teaching that Sunday, don't worry about keeping the attendance. Get somebody else to do that. Whether it's another one of you or somebody else. That's a good way to get somebody involved. Hey, would you check the roll for us? But keep record of contacts made. If people say, you know, what contacts made, write those down. Keep record of that. I'm not going to ask you necessarily for all the names of contacts made, but I want to know how many, so I can record that. I would encourage you also on that last week, because this is something as we reach out to people, we're going to be saying, hey, we're doing some special church for the next 6 weeks. We'd like you to be part of it. You know, especially for that last week, do something different, like maybe meet for breakfast or lunch to celebrate completion. I mean, it can be up here at the church. You can say, hey, at 9 o'clock, we're going to have, not just a box of cold donuts, but maybe get some people, maybe do a little fellowship or something. I don't know, you know, be thinking about that. I mean, you can meet over here or whatever, you can in different places, but think about that. Or maybe afterwards you say, hey, anybody wants to go to lunch, we're going to go. You can't go down to Tequila's, I don't know where you can go in the city, but we're going to go down to McDonald's, and we're going to have lunch. I don't know. And get feedback from group members too toward the end, because when we meet together to close out, I'd like to hear not only your feedback but the feedback of of other members too. So this practicum is going to be followed by one last meeting with all of us. My plan is, and I want to check, I know things happen, but will all of y'all be available Thursday, November 14th at 6 p.m.? I know that's a world away from now, but at least right now,
I'm free.
we should be free Thursday night. That's not the week of Thanksgiving. We could make some men stuff, but most of you are going to be here at least. I'll have you probably. I think we'll meet at my house, and I'm going to barbecue. I think that's the plan. You know, we'll change your plans, Jeff.
Yeah. Where you gonna put the dog?
What's that?
This is
Where you gonna
space?
put the dog?
This is space.
The dog. The dog goes where he pleases.
Nobody moves.
Broccoli dog.
You can't see us if you don't move.
So when we meet for that meeting, I'm gonna ask you some specific questions. I don't think these are in your notebook, so I want you to write these down. I'm gonna ask you some specific questions. I'm gonna ask you, were your personal goals met? I challenged you at the beginning to make some personal, at least a personal hope, goal, expectation. You may want to see your card again. I've been praying for you about those things. You may have had some personal expectations. I'm going to ask you, were those things met? Answer quickly. I'm going to ask you what group goals were set and achieved. So you remember way back in the first session we talked about orientation, or first session, we talked about group goals. You know, how many contacts made. We talked about, I don't remember those off the top of my head, that page in front of me, but you go back and look at those first pages with the group goals that were set and achieved. And, y'all come on, don't you? And then I'm going to ask you, so personal goals, group goals, I'm going to ask you, were leaders identified? Did you identify some? So I hope out of your group you'll come and say, yeah, and you can tell me names. They won't necessarily go in my research, but I'd like to hear. Bless you. Bless you. Yeah, we identified this person. They'd be a good candidate for potential Sunday school teacher or an outreach leader or something specifically involving disciple making leadership. And then I'm going to ask you, based on member participation, outreach context, and identify potential leaders, could at least one new group be started? Do you think a new group could be started out of your group? Those are some things we'll talk about.
Please hear me.
That
So
last thing.
when you say a group, would that be a group that have 3 leaders in it?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
So you'll be all on it too. As soon as this is over, I'm
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I hope that's what I hope that will become more and more of our culture, that we're not just moving from one study to the next. We're trying to reproduce disciples here. You know, we're trying to make more disciples, and also we all love a crowd. I mean, a lot of us, you know, we sort of, it feels like affirmation that, you know, when you're teaching a Sunday school lesson, the old adage is, you know, the only thing more boring than teaching a Sunday school class of 3 people is being one of the 3 people, you know.
Yeah.
And there's affirmation. Now, I'm happy to teach 3 people or 30 people or 300. It's disciple making. But I know when the room is full and you got to go get a couple extra chairs, you feel like you're doing something right, whether it has anything to do with you or not. And it is a good feeling. And it probably is an indication that, you know, there's something good happening there. But and we will hopefully need to accommodate larger group, you know, larger space. But I don't just want bigger rooms. I want to see us multiply, start more groups. Because once you get to a certain point in your room, you lose the personal, the openness, all that stuff. It just becomes a preaching event then. And preaching has its place, it has its role, and it definitely does in the life of our church. But this is a different aspect of disciple making. Okay, any questions about the practicum part of the project? Any questions about how this is gonna unfold, schedule, any of those things? No question? Yeah?
Probably after, what, I know we have scripture right here laid out for us, what we're supposed to study for the, where do we go after?
Genesis 1:1.
Yeah. Okay, so outside the purview of this project, what does it mean for our church? Where is this going to be? My hope, Mark and I hope that we can continue with at least 3 groups if we have the leaders in place. If we have, and I know some of you guys are not going to be able to continue teaching at least adult Sunday school for continuously. Some of you may not be able to feel like you can teach every 3 weeks. But I hope that we have the leadership in place. And I know there's some guys that didn't go through the training but want to teach Sunday school. We have some guys that are part of the rotation. We plug them in as well. We'll shift back to using a curriculum. I mean, at least having a curriculum available. But again, hopefully knowing that you can teach that curriculum becomes a resource, not a crutch. Okay. That you can draw from that curriculum as another tool, and it gives you a direction and framework. But that curriculum may cover 3 chapters of Isaiah, and you say, "Man, this Sunday in that curriculum, I'm just going to camp out in these first 5 verses of that one chapter rather than do this overview here. I'm just going to do that." And because of what you know, you can do that. Okay. So I hope that we continue with 3 classes. We'll see where that goes, and we'll pick right back up with we have the gospel project. Right? We have that as our curriculum, so we'll pick up back using that. That's the immediate plan. So there's no reason why you can't operate as though your group is going to continue after November 10th. Okay, if it seems like between now and November 10th that's not going to be feasible, then we'll make some adjustments. Mark and I'll brainstorm that. Any other questions on the practical stuff?
Yeah, like
All right. Here's what we're going to do next. Rather than take a lengthy break, we're going to go right into this and make a good use of time. And you can then just meet in your lead teams and finish the rest of this up. Asher, will you come and help me distribute these things? Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to get lists of, you're going to give those Sunday school rolls to everybody. You're going to get a copy of our Sunday school material, and after you pass those out, you can go ahead and turn off the video. This is, what you have there is a list of all, the first list is all of our active members. I think there's somewhere between 80 and 90 on that list. It's active members and children of active members. And it should note there whether they're a member or child of a member. Those are all the active members. By active members, that means those that come or have come within the last year on some semi-regular basis, have been a part of the church life. Then there's a list of inactive members. Those are people that have disconnected from our church, whether they've relocated or started going to another church or whatever, but they're still technically on our roll, and we do need to, we'll follow up with some of them. Maybe out of this we'll find out that no, we need to, they need to be removed from the roll because they've actually joined another church. We didn't know about it. Then there's a list of prospects, I think in the back, / visitors, people that have